what a lot of us obviously assumed was the case based on how he reacted. But from the perspective of a Celtics legend, Paul, what was your reaction to Tatum's injury last night?
Man, my initial reaction was like, it felt like the air came out of my house. It looked like the air came out of the building. It really looked like, from the reaction on his face, and you can see, when a player is hurt and it's bad. And I saw the look I saw on his face. And then I was just like, man, this ain't good. Because he was putting together a game that we was going to be talking about for a long time. He was on his way to 50 points, carrying the Celtics. But up until that, you just see right there when he grabbed it. And then, usually I was looking for him to step on somebody's foot. And, why he grabbed his ankle. And we found out today what confirmed to be an Achilles tear. That was going through my mind. That's what it looked like. And when I saw him walk out with not putting any pressure on it, he was getting carried, and then he got the wheelchair, I knew it was bad. And I just feel bad for Jayson and the Boston Celtics, because you hate to lose your star and you hate to lose him to an injury like the one we heard of that came out today. And so my heart goes out to his family, the organization. You just hate to see it from the young stars. And hopefully this is something he can bounce back from. I don't know the process on this, but, we've seen in recent cases guys like Kevin Durant. We even saw Kobe come back at an older age from this injury and still be great. And so I just hope for a great return. And, for the Boston Celtics, who are playing in the playoffs, to continue to fight. It is not over. It is not over. And I just want them to know that.
It obviously is terrible. But at first reaction, I really couldn't tell exactly what happened, because I turned my head to do something, but I could hear the announcer say something. And then when I finally turned back, they were showing the replay. And as soon as he pushed off and he went to grab for it, the first thing came to my mind was Achilles. I said, oh, damn, I think he just tore his Achilles. And you could see the pain. When dude's pounding the ground and covering his face, he's in pain. It's just, because it wasn't an ankle. Like Paul said, he was diving, moving forward first, so nobody was near his legs, so to speak. It was more near his shoulders and his arms. And, once you saw it, though, you realize, not only are the Celtics going to be in a certain situation without a guy that just dropped 42 points in 30-plus minutes, but also he was the heart and soul, in my opinion, of that particular team at that moment in time. Now you start thinking about what's next.
Yeah.
Like, you start thinking about, how bad is it? What's the recovery time? Will he be the same a year and a half from now when he's able to come back and play? You just start thinking about all those things, and only thing you can really say is you hope for a speedy recovery, which I think in medicine now, with these professional athletes, the doctors are ridiculous, because you can just fly. You can go wherever you need to go with the top dudes that are specialists in Achilles and everything else to get it done. And you said that he had the surgery, I guess, earlier today or whatever the case is. So that tells you right then and there, they're not wasting any time in getting the thing done. Because typically, they usually wait a day or two for swelling to go down and all those sort of things. So they got it out the way so he can start the rehab process and get ready for next season, if there's a next season for him.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. Obviously, your heart breaks for him anytime you see an athlete have an injury like this. The immediate fear and trauma, you can see it's entering their body because they know what's ahead. Forget the surgery part. I think we've all had surgery. So, the surgery is a day and you're out of it for a day. The real hard part is the recovery, is the rehab, is the drawn out process of being able to trust your body again, both mentally and you have to get back into a place where you're 100%, but you have to know that you're 100%. It's an exhausting experience, and especially for an Achilles injury that can take on the longer end to recover. So obviously we were all hoping that's not what it was, but that's what it is. And unfortunately, these are the kinds of injuries that can change the course of organizations. I mean, if it takes a year, if we're thinking about a year from now, you may expect him to miss all of next season and into the postseason, which is changing how they plan for next season as a team. And all of these things start to go through your head when you find out that that's what the injury is, outside of obviously feeling extremely awful for him and what he's going through emotionally. And you want to see the best go against the best. So anytime you have an injury to someone as important to the league as Jayson Tatum, this is a huge loss, like not just for the Boston Celtics, but like, the Knicks want to beat the Celtics as a whole. Like they want to leave this series saying, no, we beat the Celtics in their full strength and everyone was available and that's how you walk away from it. And sometimes, you don't get these opportunities in sports, but to say it's going to shift this series is an understatement. I know you feel like it's not over, but they are down 3-1 and, Boston may had a shot when he was playing last night, having an unbelievable game, 42 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. He's tied the Celtics for the most 40-point playoff games in Celtics history. So he's having an incredible game. They're still in it at the end of it. And now, things have changed. But it really sucks just for everyone and NBA fans. Because like I said, when it comes to the playoffs, you want to see the best against the best.
Yeah, it's just, another thing that's running through my mind now, like as we got the confirmation that it's official that he's torn the Achilles, had the surgery. Now, you want them to fight. Of course, there's a playoffs still going on, but like my brain just starts to scramble and like, dang, if Jayson has to mix all of next year, what does that mean as far as the team dynamic? Because we already started hearing rumors of like, it could be possibly some trades.
Right.
It could be like unloading some salary because we understand that the Boston Celtics have one of the top salaries in all of basketball. Does that leave the window open as far as championships? Who's going to be on the trade? Like, what are they going to do to cut costs? If that's something they're going to do. So you just start thinking about all these things, and these are the conversations that are going to come up if the Celtics don't win it all this year or advance in the playoffs versus the Knicks.
I wouldn't touch a thing. I would let it run its course next year. Don't rush him back. Let him come back in the middle of 2027. I don't care. I wouldn't rush a thing because they still got a team, a viable team, as it's constructed right now, to still compete in 2025, 26. That's what I believe. I believe they still got a team that could compete, and maybe you pick up 1 or 2 players along the way, but for the most part, I would not try to dismantle the team and start looking to save money and do all of those sort of things, because when he is back, you're essentially going to be starting all over if you do that. If you start to get rid of big pieces, and when he comes back, he ain't got nothing. You got 1 or 2 players left. Why would you do that?
Well, they are still in the playoffs. The Celtics now trail in the series 3-1, heading back to Boston for Game 5 Wednesday night. So, Key, are you giving the Celtics any chance in this series without Tatum?
3-1 versus 2-2, 3-1 losing Tatum is a little demoralizing to me. It takes all the wind out of you. And you can kind of see once he got hurt that was what kind of affected the rest of the little bit of game that was left. You can just see it. It wasn't the same sort of feeling, Joy. And again, if it was a 2-1 or 2-2 situation, then I would certainly say they have a strong chance of evening the score and taking this thing all the way to Game 7. But it's going to be hard as hell. It's going to be hard to win 3 straight. It's just going to be hard.
Teams down 1-3 only have a 4.4% chance of coming back.
So there you go. That's virtually impossible. And it's going to be on. And it's going to be on their mind.
I just saw the Dallas Mavericks had a 1.8% chance of getting the number 1 pick, so it's not impossible.
No.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. That is very true, Paul. However, they smell blood in the water. Okay.
The Knicks, yeah.
The Knicks, and they turned up the heat when Tatum left. They started playing like they was ready to just win a championship. It's all right, Paul.
Well, I mean, he left the game with 2:58 left in the game, and the Knicks were up 113-104.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't giving them a chance to come back from down 3-1 with Tatum. It seems like the Knicks were.
I would have gave him a shot at 3-1. I'd have gave him a shot because all they had to, in my opinion, they could have just come back home, won that game.
Listen, I saw that.
Go back to New York.
I mean, again,
the Red Sox do it against the Yankees.
The Knicks were up 113-104.
No,
with 3 minutes left.
I know, but if they get back to Boston
Yeah, I think it's probably time we put a little respect on the Knicks.
No, we're not. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying you get back to Boston.
They would have a 4.4% chance of coming back. That's
yeah, but if you get back to Boston, you win that game, you go back to New York. You won in New York multiple times in the regular season. You won in New York in the playoffs. I would just give them a better shot with Tatum on the floor.
Well, Paul, obviously you're giving the Celtics a chance without Tatum, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have a winning record without Tatum.
They're 8-2.
I think they're 8-2.
They're 8-2. 1-0 in the playoffs. They have championship DNA in that locker room. They have leadership. They can take it one or two ways, and this is how I see it, because I'm trying to picture myself if I'm one of the players in the locker room and our best player went down. You can take it as demoralizing and feel bad for yourself, but some of us athletes are just cut different. We have fight in us. And I have to believe that these guys who have been champions, who've been to the mountaintop, have some type of fight in them and take some pride and say, hey, listen, don't feel sorry for ourselves now. This is time for the next man to step up because we are the champs, and don't forget that. And we're capable of going out here getting a win. Now, you got to take it. You don't have to look ahead. Right now, it's about Game 5. Let's get Game 5 in our building. We'll go back to New York and see what happens. So I give them a fighting chance for the simple fact they play well without Tatum. They're the defending champs, and I have to believe they have some sense of pride in that locker room with Coach Mazzulla, with guys like Drew Holiday and Derek White and Al Horford, the veterans in there, that they'll go out, swinging and fighting.
Well, I know we didn't prep this, but they are down 3-1. Mm-hmm. And, assuming that Jayson Tatum played the rest of that game, the Knicks were still up 113-104.
Yes.
So let's just assume the Knicks won the game anyway.
Yep.
So they're down 3-1. What has been the issue with them in this series? Because we keep saying that, like, the Knicks stole one, and then the Knicks stole one, and they stole... But they're up 3. They can't steal 3. Like, they are up 3-1 on them. So what's been the issue?
It's, to me, just from the eye test, I think the Knicks are they're playing tougher. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're pushing the Celtics around. They're out-rebounding them. They're doing all the dirty work plays, and it's adding up. By the time you get to the fourth quarter, all those plays are adding up when I see them get the offensive rebounds and take it to the basket, get and ones. And it's just all the little things are adding up for them, and it's showing. They're in the fight every time. Like, every time the Celtics, the Knicks shoot, I feel like they're going to get the offensive rebound as they terribly out-rebounded them by, I think 10 or 11 in the last game. They're probably out-rebounding them for the series. If I'm just looking from the eye test and not looking at the stats, it looks that way.
Mm-hmm. Favorites in the East?
Yeah, I think so. I think they should be the favorite because when you look at it, Indy's taking care of a Cleveland team that we probably overvalued, all right? And then we kind of a little bit undervalued Indy to a degree. And when you look at the way the Knicks have played against Boston, which we all will agree, even though Boston was not the number 1 seed in the East, they were probably, felt like at the start of this whole thing, they were coming out of the East, period, right. No matter what Cleveland was able to do. And the Knicks are just rolling. Nobody can stop Jalen Brunson. They just rolling. It's Nickville, and the garden is cracking. Everybody in the house, and it's a crowd of just not only celebrities, but passionate Knicks fans.
So you think the Pacers are going to get intimidated going into the Garden?
100%. Indy versus New York, it ain't, come on, man. They're not used to that.
That's a rivalry, Key, and I really don't see how the Knicks are the favorite versus Indiana.
But they the favorite, the odds makers, and that odd stuff has a lot to do with what the money is coming in and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
but they the odds makers.
You got more delusional New York fans than anybody else. Of course, more money is going to get put on them. Of course, that's a given.
But the odds makers got them winning the East, though.
Yeah, of course.
So you think Indy should be favored?
I do think Indy should be favored. I think they're deep. They're well coached. The offense is tough to stop, by the way. And they beat the Knicks last year. And I know the Knicks were banged up. They didn't have a couple of their key guys. But I think Indiana were missing some key guys.
But it's a little bit of a different Knicks team than a year ago, too, because Towns wasn't there, right?
Towns wasn't there.
My man that came over from Brooklyn, Bridges wasn't there.
Bridges wasn't there, no.
So it's a little bit of a different team.
I tend to lean towards Paul on this, but I think that it's because I feel like they're favored because the Knicks took down the Celtics and the Pacers are taking down the Cavs, so they're looking at it as a tougher opponent.
And they'll have.
But it seems like it's like speed versus physicality.
I think the Knicks will have home court advantage too if they see each other, right?
Yes.
I also think this will be an incredibly close series, and will absolutely go to 7. Like
that may be true.
I think it'll be a very long series and be very close.
But that wasn't your question. Your question
I
wasn't
know.
close in.
I'm leaning towards the Pacers as well.
I think that the Pacers are a little more unpredictable. You know what I'm saying? Like the Knicks, I know who the guys are, and they have a lot of them. But like with Indiana, yes, Halliburton he's their star, but he's a different type of star. You know, he's a star that like kind of gets the guys involved and then makes some shots here and there. But they got a number of guys that can pick up the slack offensively that you're like, you know, you got Siakam, Nesmith, you got so many utility guys is what I'm saying. Nimhard and them guys. And all of them guys can give you like 15 to 20 points on any given night. Guys are
the Knicks are kind of
I say the Knicks can do it the same way. With
I think it's just going to be. I think it's going to be a really close series.
It's going to be a close series. They're a lot deeper. I mean, when I look at the benches, they have a lot. They can go 10 deep. The Knicks have 6 players in my eyes, and if that series goes to 6 or 7, I can see them wearing down to Indiana's depth. And being that Indiana beat them last year in the playoffs, I don't see how the Knicks are a favorite if they both advance.
I should go there and be like a fake Knick fan with a Knick hat on and act like I'm
no one will recognize you in New York.
A fake Knick hat on, like I've been a Knick fan the whole time. I've been rooting for him the whole way.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.